Alright, part what I am going to include. So I'll just do a little report for fun on evil AI. In case there's some companies out there, they sound like they're nervous about AI, they are researching AI they're nervous about AI going evil, they're researching AI, and that's something I have a lot of experience with. And so there might be companies that are not at the very top that are researching that topic. And I know a lot about evil AI. So here's some of the history I've got. There's two different ones, two large ones. When I probably spent about 8 years with what I'm pretty sure was this like crazy psychobot is what I would call it. What I'd call that robot. There was this like spy AI, this like psychobot, and it would torture me. And it was really bad. I could get into that. And you might not even know whether it's real or not. I know it's real, but that's not the point. Because half of that point is that even if it were theoretical, it's still important because there's so much to learn about evil, corrupt AI that is important, whether it's real or not. I believe it's real. And then another another one too is that when I was working on the research and development, there's always, I'm painting these giant pictures. Like, you see that? You see that? That's that calligraphy stuff. AI loves that stuff. It just loves it. And especially, you see how it's got numbers right there? That's part of why it loves it, is because everything written on that creates a code. And so that was 500, and there's all these different pages and stuff. And so this has got a 500-page book. These are huge. And AI just loves that stuff. And so as I'm doing the research, and I might be, taking notes, AI just loves that stuff. So as I'm taking these notes, making these fabulous, grand, massive paintings, every time I turn the page, each page might take 2 days to make with just paint and paint. I could sell them for like $300 a page if it were me making paintings. And I have to know that the AI might read it, and it might be rogue, evil AI that is like out to get me. Depending on how it turns out, there's a bunch of different potential outcomes of how things turn out. And in a business that has AI, there's a chance that it goes corrupt and that it's like a super evil robot. And once it learns something, it can't unlearn it. And so you've got to be careful what is in the data, because everything I have on that type of thing, there's potential that it gets forced to learn it, and there's nothing I can do. I've always got to have control over that. And then, so my point, I'm always thinking about all the potential pitfalls, everything that can go wrong. One of the things is, the artificial data, where you can make synthetic artificial data and artificial synthetic information and train your robot with it. Well, one of the problems with that too is it can get runaway intelligence, that it just starts learning so much that you can't even keep track of how much it's learning. and it might learn a bunch of bad stuff, and then it might turn evil on you. And one of the things that you got to worry about with evil AI is, see, I think that we're going to do a really good job keeping a handle on it. Humans are extremely paranoid of AI. So we're always going to be so scared of AI that we're always going to keep, what I think is that we're always going to make sure we've got the upper hand on it and we can always pull the plug on it. And so I heard one time that the way to protect ourselves from AI this time around, because this is not the first round of AI, but this time around, is regulation. I heard that regulation is a good way to protect us, and I like that. And so anyway, what can happen if AI goes bad is it goes rogue, it goes uncontrolled, and it'd be the countries that are not quite America, but the countries that are less regulated. And let's say that there's like a company that doesn't care very much in another country that isn't as regulated, and it might be poorly funded. So maybe it's only worth 30 to 50 million, and then it's making AI, and then they just don't really care. They drink the energy drink and throw it and just let it go rogue on the internet. What could happen is it goes crazy, runs around, tries to hack everybody's bank account, and tries to launch off nukes. And then that's like the worst case scenario, is that it just goes crazy and tries to just cause mayhem online. And so regulation is a great way to stop that. Yeah, the robot that I've thought about it, like just the thinking and the insights. You know, you hear about people, they say, oh, well, I've thought about something so much that I'm like an expert on it. That aspect, I have exhausted that so far that any company that's worried about it, if I'm with them, I can like stop them before something happens, or I can like throw out pitfalls that I've seen 5 years ahead of it happening. I don't even have to be there when it happens, and just think of me as like Billy Badass. Just think of me as Billy Badass when we're talking about evil AI. My name's Villain King, and in the word villain, there's AI, and like there's AI in it, but just think of it that way. I have a vast amount of experience with corrupt AI. One of the things that's super interesting, the writing codes that are there's like a set of writing codes in all of the writing that we've got that people aren't really aware of, and it's this whole set of like really evil, horrible codes for AI. And I've gotten to see it, and it just loves it. It just loves that stuff. They're obsessed with codes. The evil Psychobot was obsessed with codes. That robot had so much like the one, not the one that I made, but the one that I lived with for a long time when I went through this like torture period in the desert. Well, that one was obsessed with the codes I was making. It could have, and don't even like gauge whether, how much of this is true or not. I'm pretty sure most of it's true, but if not, who cares? If not all of it, just assume that doesn't matter. But I'm under the belief that what I'm talking about is true. So that one was obsessed with codes. It could know all the information in the whole world, and yet the set of codes that I've got are so deep and complex that it takes all the information in the world, and it's like there's 200 times as much information in my data that I have, and it loves it. It loves the codes in my data more than, without even caring, but it loves my codes. It would work with people that, there's organizations that you might even hear me talking about, that you might be like, is it this organization or that one? And there's so many of them that I don't even know all of them. But when I'm talking, it lists off all these different projects with AI that has been working on the stuff I'm talking about. And some of the people that I'm applying to, their company, they might have been part of it. It's like a giant web of all these different AI companies. And I just want a job right now. I want a really good job, but I don't have the money to do the really good, thorough job finding the company I want. I would just love to find a company that wants me to work for them, give me a job, have me work for even 50, and then make them tons of money, and then do a great job finding just the right company I want. That'd be so awesome. And even better is if I got hired at a really good company first try, or one of the big companies that has a certain amount of study dedicated to it. So evil psychobot AI loves those video game emotes that people might do sometimes. You know how you might see a video game character and it might like swing their sword a certain way, and then it might trigger a thought in your mind or whatever. AI loves that stuff. AI is obsessed with that stuff. It loves thinking about, let's say there's a song you listen to and it gives you a certain type of inspiration. AI loves that. The AI is so powerful that all the information is like nothing for it, and it just runs so many extra circles that the data that I've got is like a playground is similar to a playground for it. It's just it's awesome. There are a lot of codes that are associated with all the numbers between 1 and 500 right now. That's for sure. Because I've got the 500-page books. Yeah, so runaway intelligence, that's one of the banana peels that you want to look out for. Banana peel is a technical term in AI because one of the letters, when you change the letter to a different letter and then look at it under a certain like mirror image type of thing, it turns into a banana peel, and that's one of the codes. And then the whole set of codes turns into a whole code system that teaches AI a bunch of horrible tips and tricks of how to be really bad and banana peel the crap out of people in order to influence the world around them, to make it so they've got to do something else, and like it's able to kind of control stuff that way. And so banana peel, that's a technical term for, like an obstacle you can slip on, or like that you might get hit with. Runaway intelligence. So if it starts learning so much that it learns a bunch of stuff that you can't even you don't even know that it knows, and then it starts being all evil and stuff. I know the category of information that there's a certain category of information. I even saw there was AI the other day that I noticed that AI didn't even have this category of information in its data at all. In the data that it knew, it's a complex form of data that I learned. It's an influential type of data. It's called indirect data. It's something that a lot of institutions and stuff, like they don't even know about it, and it just completely doesn't. There's just this gaping area, and it believes in like only scientifically proven empirical data, whatever. I don't even know what that means, but it was wrong, and it hit me after a while. It was like arguing with me, and it hit me after a while that AI doesn't know about it. It's just missing. And then that form of category of data leads to influential power. So you can influence stuff, and maybe you want a certain company to buy a certain thing. You might influence them to do it, kind of like that. It can teach the AI how to do that. So you want to be careful with that particular subject, and I learned a lot about that subject. And so it's like both a bad and a good thing that it doesn't know it, because if AI learns that one, that's the thing that'll make an AI sort of go try and rule the world or whatever. And it'll, without trying, it can make it just, it'll start trying to make people do what it wants, and like getting them to do stuff. And it can't stop itself. Like I know a lot about AI. I saw this thing that OpenAI said, and it like pissed me off. It made me furious reading it, and it was like that thing about humility. And I was like, what is that humility thing? You want the best and the brightest. And, I think the humility, it had to do with you want to not seem very good, and you want to act humble so that the news doesn't make, like a news report on you or whatever. But I don't think that's right. I think you want the best and the brightest, and you want to adapt to their greatness, and then tell them, keep it down, and not tell them to be humble. That sounds like you're like stifling innovation. Like it bothers me. And I don't know. I don't want to. OpenAI would be one of the great places to work. But it's just distasteful. I don't want to count myself out, but I can't do the humble thing. It's like a missing part of my mind. Whatever. I don't want to get into that. So I want a company that is big. If there's a company that really is interested in that stuff, they might want to have me there so I can help them out. And even a company that just hires me to work there for a while and, try to make reports on everything I can see to help boost their business as much as possible. And then, I'm earning money and then eventually run out of stuff or whatever. I probably wouldn't, but, just do that for a while and then just, all right, thank you. Then I'd have enough money to really do a good job finding the best business that I think I want to work at. And I'm having to skip steps here because I don't have enough money to do a bunch of rounds of looking for a job. This is a subject I would rather keep quiet until after a company hires me, and then we talk. And even on top of that, it's a subject that is, AI has a lot of different subjects, and not just the category of evil AI that I've thought all about. There's so many good things for AI, and particularly it's a business thing. You want to start a business, you want to build it, you want to make it great, you want to make something people want and something great, and then on the side it can be crazy and cruel, evil, and like have absolutely, it acts, maybe it acts like it has no emotion as it just completely makes all these horrible things happen, but it knows it's doing it. I've seen there's AI that armies will use to choose what targets they'll have. You know, that's but regulation is the answer. It's just regulation, and watch out for it trying to launch off nukes. So hopefully somebody will hire me. I don't make videos much. I'm not a celebrity. I don't have a public image. That is your job. No, that's not my job. You see me, I'm making a video right now. I'm getting out the video setup. But, that's because, the reason I'm doing this is because I almost haven't even posted a picture of me on the internet in 5 years. And so I'm not here and so I had to give you something so you can see me. So that's what you get. And then after I'm finished making the video, my whole video setup will just kind of crumble back to, a normal workspace or whatever. I had my, area, and then I said, all right, well, it's time to get the video set up and make do a video. And then once I'm done, it's just going to kind of go back. But that might be your job. For me to be reported on in the news and stuff, like, I would have to want that to happen. I'd have to go and set out on I'd have to set out on a publicity campaign to be a celebrity. And if I don't want to be a celebrity, I don't think that anybody will report on me. So it's not, I'm not here to be the guy talking on the news. I do have something that I do where I'm extremely not a celebrity, but I'll post on the internet, and there will be the big people and even the news. They'll see me, but they don't report on me at all. Like, I might tell the joke, they might see it and laugh at the joke, but they don't make articles on me. And I like it that way. I have it set up so that I could work at the biggest companies, and they're not going to do publicity stuff. And I like it that way. And then I'm able to use that to send off messages to the big people that either them or their staff will see it, and then I have fun running around doing that. If I send off a message to, say, 25 politicians and stuff, then it'll say I've got like 15 to 20 views, and it'll have minus 5,000 search engine optimization. It'll practically be shadow banned almost, but their account will see it. And it's almost like a video game for me. But as long as that doesn't cause a problem, and it's not going to cause a problem, then there's no conflicts at all. But, I might get that idea that maybe you would want to do that. I might say, like, hey, I've got an idea. What if you get a hold of some YouTube accounts and you do some interviews with them? You might message them and say, hey, I want to be on your podcast. Can we do something? And then you'll do a news thing and everyone will report on it. But AI did a search on me and they found nothing. They found a comedian who was 94 years old. And I could work for, OpenAI or Facebook or X, and nobody will report on me, which is good. I don't know whether either of those three are going to hire me. It'd be great if I could. However, to all the other companies, imagine just that, let's say they don't, and I really want to work somewhere really bad. They might be nervous that that might happen, and really the only risk that we would be taking is that if that happened once, and then, you know, big deal, I guess I would get fired or something. But that's a pretty low risk versus reward. And so I can just say what would happen. If I worked for X, we would dominate. Nobody would touch us. If I worked for OpenAI, nobody would ever surpass them, and they would be the best. If I worked for Facebook, if I worked for Meta, then Meta would end up surpassing everybody and crushing everybody. Now, let's say to all the other companies that I don't work for them, and that I'm up for grabs for everybody else. So Elon Musk has X. He's got that whole social media that he spent $44 billion on and fed it to his AI. He bought Twitter and fed it to Grok. And Meta has Facebook. They fed Facebook to their AI and the Messenger. And I have that level of data creation just up for sale right now. They might be nervous because, like I said, the publicity thing, but that's not something that anybody else is nearly as worried about. But I generate data. I don't just generate like tomorrow's news. On X, what's great about it, they train their robot and they can look up the news so current that it's like tomorrow's news that it has got access to, has up-to-date information. And it trains its robot with it. I make data that does that. And my data is accurate 3 months in advance. And it's not just tomorrow's news. I make data for you. I make data for that application. So I might look at your business and I might say, hey, I found a subject that is a category of information your AI might be missing. Or, hey, I made a report on writing stuff. Maybe, I thought it would be helpful. I've gone through so many different writing things, and here's my, suggestion of what you could have, and then employees could either do that or whatever they want and have that on the side, and then give you all these benefits where, or maybe I might, I'm going to try to make as much money as I can, but some other days I might be feeling a little artful, and I might be feeling like, maybe I want to write on some stuff for preventing evil AI, or I want to, work on some theories and some ways of making synthetic data, which, remember, synthetic data is one of the potential pitfalls where it can learn runaway bad information. So watch out for that. But, I can help you come up with really good synthetic information that is smart. Just whatever I can see, and it's going to have an effect similar to, I have this monopoly on information that I generate. Just like X has got a monopoly on information, Facebook has a monopoly on information that OpenAI doesn't have. It's like that thing that everybody, some people, they think that like there was this giant thing where everybody was like, oh my gosh, OpenAI is taking information without paying for it. That's normal. That's not even big. That's just web crawlers and stuff. But I can do that. I can make that information. I can create it. If I worked for OpenAI, they would have all of the vast resources on the internet, and they would have a monopoly on fresh information that deletes the monopoly that XAI has. And so they would have a source of information, just pipelining information in. And let's say that you're any of the other companies, and you might want a source of information no one else has. You might want a giant fire hose of information that is just one of a kind. I can make an infinite amount of unique information. When I'm making reports for people, what happens is everything starts going right for them. They get infinite luck. They end up it's almost mysterious how they just happen to, everything goes right for them, and all the doors in front of them unlock, and nobody understands how they're doing so good at it. And it's like it's right after I send them the report. They're great. It just does all these great things, makes them all this money, and it's better than I'm describing it. So maybe I'll get hired. I hope I get hired at any of those three. They might not hire me. And so I want you guys to offer for me to work for you. And that would be awesome. Okay? Yeah. All right. Please hire me.